Check, 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 check. We on? Are we on? Let's go. It is Monday night, December 21st. We are live. I'm live from downtown Champaign, Illinois, and I got a great guest tonight. Coach Kenny Simpson of Searcy, Arkansas is in the house tonight. Excited to talk ball with him. I am a little nervous tonight because I'm trying out a new streaming software. So I had to get a lot of different settings going. If my settings are wrong, if something's wrong, like, hey, I can't hear you, I can't hear Coach Simpson, make sure you let us know in the chat, because that's my only way to know. Again, a new streaming software that I'm trying out tonight, so I'm a little nervous about that, but I do think it's better. But some of the sound settings and such, I'm a little nervous about. So I'm excited to be live again tonight. Kenny Simpson in the house. My name's Nate Allball, high school football coach here in Illinois. My whole life, my whole career has been here in Illinois. And year 20 as a football coach. I've coached other sports as well, but football, it's my favorite. What can you say? It's my favorite. Let me go tweet this out that we are officially live. Let me go tweet that out real quick. We live. Welcome to the chat. Make sure you check in, say hi, let us know where you're watching from. We love saying hi to everybody. We love making sure that we got conversation going in the chat. Coach Freeman in the house out of Minnesota. What's up, Coach Freeman? Thank you so much for checking in with us tonight. And I know, hey, Coach Simpson's right up your alley, right? You notice the little logo pop up? That's new. This new software, a little fancy. The other cool thing about this software, at least I'm hoping it's going to work, is if, in theory, if someone subscribes to the channel, it's supposed to play like a little animation. You know, hey, we're getting fancy here, man. We're getting fancy. So if you happen to subscribe tonight and it doesn't do something fancy, let me know, because that means I got to fix this, man. Coach Foster in the house. What's up, Coach Foster? Haven't seen you for a little while. Trey Stilley. Mike Jones back in from South Carolina. Thanks, man. Thanks for checking back in. Again, we got Kenny Simpson in the house tonight out of Searcy, Arkansas. I just came back from Arkansas 2 weeks ago, visited him, and Brian Reardon, head coach now at Southside, where Coach left, and their O-line coach, Bo Gould, and those guys will be on tomorrow night. But just took that road trip down south, so I got to see Searcy High School. Brian Gaskin in the house out of Dayton, Ohio. Welcome, Coach Craig. I was wondering, Coach Craig, if you might stop in today, because I know you're looking at some gun tee stuff as well. Yeah, Coach Freeman, big fan of Coach Simpson's. His belly play was good to us this year. Love it, man. Still, he says, who? Jeff Rogers, welcome back, Coach. Haven't seen you around for a while. Great to have you. Thanks for stopping in and saying hello. All you guys, thank you for stopping in. I understand guys might be in and out. You may not stay. But if you do hop in, we want you to say hi. Would love for you to. Hey, if you could, before I get going, before I bring Kenny Simpson on, man, if you could leave us a thumbs up, helps a ton. If you could subscribe to the channel if you're not already, helps a ton. Just some easy ways to support football content, man. So excited to be here. Hey, what do you think about Army? They're in now. They're in. They finally got in a bowl. Thank goodness. We got, the whole playoff thing. It's frustrating to me. The main expansion, yes, of course I want expansion. Who doesn't? But the main problem that I have is when a team goes undefeated in the division, right? You're in Division 1 FBS. A team goes undefeated and doesn't get a chance to prove how good they're. I just have a problem with that. I just don't think opinion should have much to do with who the champ is, right? I mean, what kind of league should opinion have to do with the champ? Like the champ should be settled on the field, right? Am I wrong there? Shouldn't the champ of any sport, anything, that champ should be settled on the field? It shouldn't be settled by opinion. So I just feel like if you haven't lost yet, you just deserve a chance until someone beats you. I'm not saying that the two other undefeated teams not in the playoffs would have won it. I'm just saying they deserve a shot until someone beats them. Nathan Peters, welcome. Haven't seen your name before. Thanks for checking in. Kentucky, the BBN in here. For the first time, looking forward to it. Thanks so much for checking in, guys. Let's not delay. Let's get Kenny Simpson in the house. Going to shout out my sponsor one time before I do. Our sponsor is Guardian Caps for the 12 streams of Christmas. This is stream number 11. Tomorrow night's the last one before Christmas. Dabo, Jimbo, Franklin, Riley, Herman, what do these coaches have in common? They all use Guardian Caps during practice. These caps reduce up to 33% of the impact to address the repetitive, subconcussive blows that add up during the week while keeping your helmets looking like new. Check them out at guardiansports.com or on Twitter at Guardian_Caps. Guardian Caps, thank you so much for sponsoring this stream. Let's get Kenny Simpson in the house without further ado. While Coach Simpson comes in, Coach Big Pete, welcome, man. Scott McLean in the house, listening from SoCal. Thanks, man. Thanks for checking in. Charles Eaton from OKC. Guys, thanks so much for checking in. If you haven't checked in before, please check in. If you could leave us a thumbs up, it would go a long way. If you're not subscribed, man, please subscribe. Little ways to support coaches that are producing some content. Hey, Coach Simpson, how are you, man?
Man, I'm not as good as you in that sweet-looking office you got behind. Pretty good.
Hey, you've been here. You've seen the home place.
I have, man. It's a sweet setup. If you guys ever get the chance to go do some of Chief Pigskin, they take care of you for sure. It's a beautiful city, too.
It really is a good little town, Champaign, Illinois, and when the Illini are winning at whatever sport that is, it takes on a whole new life. But I'm sure every college town is like that. Ours is no different. Coach Craig agrees. Undefeated teams deserve a chance, right? Coach Simpson, that was my thought. I thought, listen, if the whole playoff, yes, I would love expansion. Who wouldn't? But I just feel like if you are undefeated, you deserve a chance until someone beats you. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they would have won it, but we got two undefeated teams that don't even get to see if they could win this whole thing. And they're in the same division. It's not like they're not in FBS. You know what I mean? What are your thoughts on that?
I always root for the underdog, so I'm always going to be the team was undefeated. You got to celebrate that. But we're probably kidding ourselves thinking those teams would beat Florida or some of those other teams. But I would love to see them get a chance. Stick them out there I think they at least deserve one of those New Year's Day bowls. At least give them that spotlight. I think they kind of hosed Coastal Carolina. Playing Liberty. No offense to Liberty, Coastal Carolina, they wanted Florida. They wanted
yes,
and give them that shot. So I can get behind that. But you're only picking 4 teams. Now you can make an argument this year there were 2 teams, and then 3 through 12 were probably the same.
But that's the thing. We never really know. We always speculate. But if you've been in sports at all, which all of us have, you never really know, right? Like, how many times, Coach, have you had a game you were going into thinking, we're going to smash these guys, and next thing you know, you're in a dogfight?
All game. Yeah, you go back to UCF a couple years ago, they crowned themselves national champions.
I like that move. I like that move
for doing that. But yeah, it could happen. It definitely can. And that's why high school, in my opinion, and the NFL have the postseason so much better than college.
Oh, it's unbelievable, the difference. Guys in the chat, let us know. Again, I'm testing out a new software tonight. So all my sound settings kind of start from scratch. If there's something wrong, like, hey, Coach Simpson, we need to turn him up or whatever, please let us know, because I don't have any other way of knowing if you guys don't communicate with us. Coach Simpson, I got a random list of questions. And again, it's pretty random. I really just want to see where the conversation takes us, man. Before I move off the whole playoff thing, I really just feel like it's just for the future, whatever that happens, until you've been beaten, you should still be alive to win the title, right? Because if you're undefeated in whatever, any sport, anything, if you haven't been beaten, we need to go until you've been beaten. Tom Simpson in the house, welcome. Watching Big Brother. That's your brother, huh?
Out in Colorado, man. That's the good-looking one of us. Face on here.
Good. I'm glad you got some family here supporting you. Coach, where did you grow up? You got everything is a 30-second time limit for your answers until we get to the football stuff.
Got it.
Where'd you grow up?
Man, I'm military, so went to 3 different high schools. Played 4 different sports at 3 different schools. My senior year went to 2 different schools. So,
wow.
So that gave me actually kind of gave me a lot of insight into why I wanted to coach. Got a lot of different experiences, and I wouldn't trade it. It was in the moment, not real fun, but looking back, it set me up for a lot of good things.
Yeah, man, Coach. What was your what other high school sports did you play?
Well, football, but probably my best natural sport was basketball. I was pretty decent at basketball, could shoot it a little bit. I played baseball through ninth grade, and then curveballs happened, and I couldn't hit them. Transition from baseball to track, was a high jumper, long jumper, triple jumper, and really enjoyed that.
I love the way you say that. Then curveballs happened.
You get up to bat, I feel like you should swing, and they start coming and dropping, and I didn't want to play that game.
Oh man, I'll tell you what. I played a lot of little league baseball. My freshman year, I stopped playing, and it was the summer after my freshman year. I lived near the school. My dad was a teacher and a coach, and all of a sudden, the baseball coach shows up at our back door in the middle of summer. He says, "We're one short. Can Nate play?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll play." So I run out there. First pitch I see, it's coming at my head. So I just completely bail. It's a curveball. It's a strike. And I remember I stepped out and looked at him, and I'm so embarrassed. And he's laughing. He's like, "Hey, it's okay." But I thought to myself, hey, if I just saw a kid do that to my curveball, I'm throwing another curveball. So, hey, I knew the next curveball was coming, though. I'll tell you that. But that was my first time. Curveballs did the same thing to me. Boy, does that change the game. Fellas,
Oh, yeah.
Coach, what's unique? Like, you haven't lived in Arkansas your whole life. But, like, give us, for all of us outsiders, it's easy for us to just go, Arkansas backwoods, right? What's unique to Arkansas life?
Well, I mean, first of all, if you like outdoors, I mean, it's beautiful. You like to hunt fish. I mean, you can't get better. You have the mountains up kind of near Batesville area where I was from, where I coached along, and it's just beautiful. I lived on a bluff I could overlook and see. That part is beautiful. You probably expect that in Arkansas. What was unique to me was, man, it's got a pretty good tradition of high school coaches going on, doing great things. Our boy Malzahn right now is not in a great place, but he's very rich and not.
He's probably in a great place.
Yeah. So you get a lot of guys that have kind of done that, have come through the ranks in high school football in Arkansas that went on to do really, really big things. So as far as football, it surprised me it had a real rich history.
Coach, give us a couple juggernaut teams out of Arkansas that we don't know about.
I don't know if you don't know about him, but Coach Kelly over at PA is very well known.
That's the one I know about.
Okay, so you know that guy. Bryant, if you watch Bryant this year, they beat Deion Sanders' team.
Oh.
Lost game out of Texas. Texas, they kind of think they're the big stuff, and they are, but they came up to Arkansas and got whipped, by Bryant. And Bryant, I think, has won 3 straight state champions, and I'd put them up against really anybody across anywhere. I mean, I think they're top 25 this year. You got a couple small schools that kind of put guys out all the time. Junction City down south, 2A school, they may have 20 kids on their team and 4 maybe D1 kids. So they're just pumping them out all the time. Warren, Arkansas, you want to watch some good ball players there. Coach Embry does a good job with those guys. I've unfortunately taken my whipping from them once already, so they're pretty good. And they've got several guys that played in the NFL, played receiver, and a lot of guys playing in Arkansas.
Well, we're already at 8:13. I want to get to some football talk later. Guys in the chat, feel free to shoot out any questions that you may have had or have thought. Maybe you've read one of Coach's books, or maybe you've been watching some of his videos. Like football-specific question, any question, feel free to shoot it out. We'll try to get to it. Otherwise, I'll just stick on my script. Listen, I remember I took some heat probably a year ago, 2 years ago, on Twitter. Now it's Twitter heat, so it doesn't really mean much. You're going to take heat over anything you say. But I took some heat for coaching football like a wrestling coach. Well, your new book, Coach Football Like a Basketball Coach, seems to be really well received, man. Tell us what you mean. What's the idea here?
Yeah, and to me, I play basketball. We've already kind of talked about that. I coach basketball. You're new coach, you get the sport you want to do and the sport they make you do. So I've had some basketball coaching experience. I actually coached a kid who's still playing professional in Germany. And so I've had some really good ball players. So I've kind of got that background and played. My children played. I started noticing things about basketball, the way some of those coaches teach, how fluid the game is. Basketball is a very fluid, spatial game. And if you've been watching football the last 15, 20 years, it's becoming that. You see the spread guys, we only run 4 plays. Well, off your 4 plays, every single route is a choice route. Like they can all adjust. And that's basketball. I mean, that is literally basketball. All we run is pick and roll. Well, there's 15 options off of pick and roll. And so I started kind of piecing that together. You're starting to see defenses go to the hybrid looks where, they're running the same blitz from different looks, and they're running the matchup zone where now they're not just covering space. And that's very basketball oriented. And so kind of started there, and then quarantine hit and really started hammering it out and just kind of explored different parts of how they're similar and how there's some great things we can take from each other.
Now, what made you think, though, so I've got to believe a book's always going to start with an idea, but what then makes you go, no, I'm going to go ahead and write this. I think that it's going to be worth my time, because I've never written a book, and there's a very good reason for that. It intimidates me. I'm like, how am I going to sit down and write all this? This is a huge investment of time. What gives you the confidence, or gave you the confidence to say, I'm going to take the time. I think it's going to be worth my time. Somebody else will want to read this.
Yeah, you never know. And a lot of times for me, I don't write books for guys to buy them. I just write books because I really enjoy doing that. And, if it helps 5 coaches, that's fine. If it helps more than that, that's even better. To me, though, it was more the idea. I just thought, man, this is kind of unique. I've not really seen a book like this, and I think a lot of us think that way. So just kind of explore through different things. And you mentioned earlier, whatever you do, you're going to catch heat. There's going to be people that don't like what you do. And I've just, I'm a football coach. I got 3,000 of them that don't like what I do most of the time on Friday night. And so I don't let that bother me. I just put it out there, and if somebody really enjoys it, that's great. And if they don't, then, I guess I'll refund them $20 or whatever you want from it.
Oh, man. Well, guys in the chat, thanks so much for being here. I see Jason Eddings stopped in. Hi, Jason Eddings. Ben Johnson in the house out of Indiana. He says we teach zone defense like basketball, but we're from Indiana, so that's natural. Hey, anybody else that's in the chat here tonight, if you would check in, we'd really appreciate it. Just let us know where you're watching from or where you coach. That'd be awesome. Leave us a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please subscribe. A great way to support us and help us grow, help us continue to have fun doing this. Well, Coach, when you think about your own coaching here, now you kind of hopped online and started doing your thing online, and you've grown really quickly online with a really good following. But if you look at yourself genuinely, humbly, and say, I think I probably still have room to grow in this area, right? Maybe that's not very natural for guys. I know I sit and think a lot about my weaknesses. I'm like, man, I'm anxious to get better here. Is there anywhere that you're like, man, I could grow here?
I could go get my wife and she'd get booked for that if you want me to. No, of course, Coach. Of course. I think that's kind of the misconception of a lot of people when you put materials out there is that you think you've got to be an expert. I'm not an expert in anything. I've learned from a lot of people, and I've learned from the School of Hard Knocks a whole lot. And so to me, you're always growing. This year, we're probably going to throw the ball a little bit more at Cersei than we did last year. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go talk to guys that are really good at that. And I think that's kind of the cool part about being a coach is, for the most part, we share and we reach out to each other and we help each other. But no, there's plenty of areas, Coach. I'm sure that I could list them. I actually have a chapter in, I want to say, both my books that I put called Mistakes That I've Made. And every book I put out, I'll put that in there. Because I do, as coaches, we need to be willing to admit areas we've struggled, where we need to go on. And I think putting that out there maybe allows other coaches to feel like, oh, okay, well, he's willing to admit it, then maybe I can admit some of these too.
Well, I see Coach Steve is in the house. Welcome, Coach Steve. Great to see you. Coach Weaver, I haven't seen you for a little while. He's out of Ohio. And Ben Campos in the house. And I think Ben had checked in before, but I forgot to shout him out. So thanks so much for checking in. Campos says, when we taught match zone, we struggled. I suck at basketball, though, so it makes sense that we struggle.
It's very basketball. Go talk to your basketball coach.
I was a wrestler, but, hey, we could figure this stuff out. Coach, when you look, let's just talk some buck sweep for a minute, right? When you say buck sweep, I feel like you're speaking my language, baby. You can do it from the gun or whatever. I still feel like you're speaking my language. When I've heard you speak before, you're going to run buck out of, man, a lot of different stuff. But where's it start from, teaching-wise, summer camp-wise? Like day one install, we're teaching buck from what? You run it at what surface?
Man, I like to run a tight end wing, and as long as I coach, if we have those players, sometimes you don't have those, but if we have a guy that can play tight end and a wing, or an H-back, whatever you want to call him if you're a spread guy, I love that surface because I think you have 4 gaps the defense has got to cover, and it's really hard to cover each gap. And so they basically have to decide we're going to plug up the middle or we're going to take away buck sweep. And when they do that, you get options. So that's where we're putting it in. Day one, it will be off a tight end wing, or you're seeing NFL teams now. They call it pin and pull because they don't want to sound old, but it's buck. Their flavor of buck, but they're running out of condensed sets. That tends to be the best way to do it.
All right, so you want to run that tight end wing. That's where you start teaching it. What other surfaces will you run it at?
Anything. I'll run at anything. I think, we put in quick buck this year, so we're running that back to the quick side. So we were just basically teach our 2 receivers that they're going to crack block, we're going to pull kick, and we're going to pull. We ended up double wrapping usually, and we ran it as a screen, catch it and toss it. And so just different ways. For me, buck sweep is expensive if you've ever put it in. And so we want to make sure we maximize what we get out of it.
I really like that. I think you're exactly right. That's what we've done a ton, is that we're very aware how expensive it is. And that was what I appreciated most when I first heard you speak was, all right, if it's this expensive, which we've always acknowledged, all right, we must use it a ton. So how are we going to use it, right? Because the worst thing you could do is put in this super expensive play, use it 4 times on Friday night, right? I mean, that's the worst thing you could do. Coach Hoffman in the house. Coach Gardner in the house. What's up, Coach Gardner? Coach Hoffman, he said, what's the path of your running back on buck?
Well, we're in the gun, so it's flat across quarterback. That makes your RPOs very spread. You watch teams run outside zone. You keep that flat attack from the back. So he's going to be flat across the quarterback. And then we just teach our guy to find the guard. I don't overcoach it. It used to be 3 steps and plant here and go. We do want to be flat because if we get penetration, we don't get blown up. But flat across, and then as soon as he can, we want to find that quick guard. And I tell my running back that, hey, this guy will take you somewhere usually good, and if you go somewhere bad, at least you got a friend with you. If you go on your own, you kind of by yourself. So we want to go with him and then make our cut off it. It cleans it up a lot. That's one of the reasons. Buck sweep is expensive up front, but it's very cheap for the runner because it's a very easy follow that guy and cut. That's an easy way for your running backs.
Now, is it coached for the same way with your guards, regardless of what surface they're running it at, or do they need to be aware? Hey, let's say I'm that front side guard, and it sounds like you're flip flopping your line.
We do, but we may not. We don't always. We have the last couple of years.
Okay, so let's say I'm that strong side guard. Do I need to be aware of whether or not I'm running this at tight end wing or whether I'm just running this at one-man surface because my job is going to change, or is it same job no matter what the surface I'm running at?
No, we will. We have calls, and so even if it's tight end wing, we got a couple calls that, hey, this is going to be tight, so get ready. It's going to be, you may be kicking out a 9 technique if we can't block them. So we'll have a couple calls of, they'll know, hey, this is going to hit real tight. Now, one thing that we're a little different, and this year I finally let our kids do it, is for a long time I would not allow us to log it. I said, no, you're going to go out there and you're going to smoke that guy. You cannot log it. Logging. Well, this guard who could read it better than I've ever had. So we started allowing them to read it, but that's very expensive. You better have a kid that can do that.
Yeah, and I know I was interviewing a guy named Derek Leonard here out of Illinois, and he was doing his presentation. They're a big-time GT team, Power GT, and he was along the same lines. Like, we always teach kick. There's no log, and then if late in the season the kid is right and he's ready, we may begin to allow him. He's like, but we don't even do that every year, and they're phenomenal at it. But yeah, I think the same thing. He's like, we can't try to teach too much, and it can be per kid, like you said. It sounds like you had a good one now this year, but you can't guarantee you're going to have that good one every year. So you do. You have to, like, what's my general way I teach things? And then what more can I do when I get that special kid? Well, guys in the chat, thanks so much for checking in. We got about 6 minutes left. We always go over 2-3 minutes, but
I've got nowhere to go.
it really goes fast. And anybody in the chat, if you haven't checked in yet, please check in. Let us know where you're watching from. If you got a specific question for Coach Simpson that you've been wanting to ask, please ask. And if you could leave us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, that would really help. Coach, first of all, you presented for us 2 weeks ago. Your presentation was supposed to drop to the online clinic. It was Saturday. But then I scheduled an emergency shoot with Sean Reinhardt out of Lakeview, so he came down Saturday. So now I'm working on that tonight. But what will guys see in your presentation that you shot for us?
Well, I thought we did something pretty cool. I brought some friends with me from Southside. I don't know if you're going to get to have them on or not. But
tomorrow night.
O-line guy on and Bo, and he did such a great job talking about how we play O-line, got some drill time, some real kind of nitty-gritty stuff. And then the second part, or the third part of it, we did that round table where we talked about how you handle the weekend. I thought, if I was a coach, that's something that maybe would apply to everybody. This would be something, hey, you can learn from, here's some things that I did, here's some things that Southside is doing now that I'm not there, and just ways to maximize your time. So I thought that was cool. And then, when I get a chance to talk, I'm probably going to talk Buck Sweep. And so I went through Buck, and then I went through a little bit new. At Cersei now, we have added a few things to how we do Buck. We're running some quick Buck, which was new to me. It's not that we hadn't run it before, but the way we were running it was different. So I've added that onto that presentation. And then, of course, you get all the RPO stuff, and I did a couple more of the motion things and try to talk through things that we had problems with. Was at a school where we've been running Buck Sweep since they were babies. And so now I had to go teach new verbiage and teach new this. So try to talk through some of that stuff.
Well, we got a couple questions popping up in the chat, so let me shoot a few at you. Coach Weaver says, how many well, you know what? Let me get to Coach Weaver's question right after this, because a couple others were about Buck itself. Coach Eaton asks, how often do you read the Buck versus a called run?
Depends on the quarterback. We always have the RPO attached, so it's always there. And then if it's a young quarterback, I'm usually signaling it to him, telling him to take it. If it's an experienced quarterback, then it's always available to him. So we have some rules. We can lock it. We can do different things, but pretty much every time we've got Buck called, there's something else available, some read he can make.
We got another question in the chat from Scott McLean. Says, you've talked about doing quick Buck new this season. What led you there? What had prevented you from it in the past? What did you discover? So just exploring further into that quick Buck.
No, well, my line coach at Cersei, they had run a play they called very similar, a swing out to the back, and they would pull the guard tackle. And I went, man, that's basically like Buck. I said, let's just pull the backside guy. And we both were like, well, he may never get there. And I said, man, I bet you they will, because we've been running Buck enough. This guy might get there. So we basically just paired basically a bubble screen to our back with Buck and ran it that way to get it out quicker. And then we could also run it. We could run motion and hand it if we wanted to also. But that's kind of where the genesis of it came from for us was, hey, let's take a screen and pair it with Buck Sweep and just kind of let's see what happens here. And it worked pretty well for us.
So is he like pitching that?
Well, he does two ways. So if they're in a zone, we'll have him hold it to get him to bail, and then he'll throw it.
Okay.
If in man, it'll be booming on him right now. That way we're getting the ball on that guy. Because man, they're not backpedaling, they're reading your guys. So if they're in zone to get them to drop, it'll look like a screen.
Now, Lucas Stanton in the house out of Solon, Iowa. Hey, I did a shoot in Solon, Iowa. They were like 5-time defending state champs. The coaches were so good, but it was like my first year in Chief Pigskin. We're talking like 2010, a decade ago. And so like I didn't do the best job with the shoot, but these guys did their 5-2. They were so good. Anyway, Solon, Iowa plays great football. Lucas Stanton in the house out of Solon. He says, if you don't have a tight end, what's your go-to set, and are you still going to hang your hat on Buck? So let's say personnel-wise, you're like, we just do not have that kid. What's changing for you?
we're probably going to go 20 personnel with that H-back. And then I'm probably going to find my biggest receiver that can handle condensing down and kind of nasty split that guy. So I'll still create 4-gap surface, but I'll do it with 2 kind of an H-back flexed receiver. And then, to me, if I still want to run buck, I can do that. But there's a lot of other stuff. You're seeing that's a very NFL thing. You watch, like I'm a big Miami Dolphin. You watch them, they live in that. They take Mike Gesicki, who's not really a tight end. Don't tell the Dolphins this, but he's a receiver. And then they run this with him. And then you see like the Rams do the same thing. They take guys that aren't really receivers or tight ends and flex them and stick them. So that's probably what my adjustment will be. And at Cersei, we got different kids. So every year we're always adjusting and adapting to what we have.
Okay, well, now we can come back and swing back to Coach Weaver's question. And he's asking, how many run schemes do you carry? Now, before you answer that, though, I want to kind of direct this question in one place. We could end up there. One of my concerns with buck, being a guy who's run a ton of buck in my life, as I look at what we do, I'm like, okay, on the strong side, on that tight end wing side, we run trap and we run buck. There's a lot of unused gaps, honestly, in there. Is that a concern? Like, what do I need to be using through there? Because again, for us, it's just trap, which I don't know if you still have out of your gun tee, and sweep. I felt like, what is that C gap play? Do I have that, or is buck sufficing as that? So that's like my specific question, and then on into what all do you carry run wise?
Right. No, we've run trap before, but it has looked horrendous out of the gun. I don't know if I'm not coaching it right, if we're just not hitting it right or whatever. So we've kind of scrapped trap. So we only have buck. Well, what we've come to this, about 3 years ago, we started running belly different. So we're running belly basically like an ISO. Pulled our wing, we're going to wrap the backside guard, and we don't call numbers. So it's going to run to the uncovered gap. So it could be an A gap play. We're playing a 4-front team. It could be a B gap play. If we're playing a 3-4 team. It could even be a C gap play, depending on how they line up. So our kids just understand we're going to get double teams. We're going to get movement. We're folding underneath there. So it's giving us that balance. To the Strongs, I'd highly recommend if you're going to run 21 personnel, you have some kind of just power play. And a lot of college teams I've been watching have started adapting a similar concept. We started with duo this year, which I've never done. I don't call it duo because that's the man's version of zone. But basically, we're running inside zone where we are getting a double team everywhere, and then we're running split zone. So that wing's coming across. Then we really started playing with, what if we inserted him, ran zone, but insert him on the backside or the play side, so we're getting zone with a lead, and then we get zone with a straight up kick that you see in college football. So those are kind of our strong side-ish plays. On the backside, we'll run the counter, which will hit backside. We run belly with the quarterback to the backside, and then we'll run either quick buck, which we did this year, or if I've got a good jet runner, we'll run jet that way.
Now, your counter play, is it crisscross? The old double handoff?
Double handoff.
I knew I could count on you, Coach Simpson. He'd
nasty, man.
Yo, it's deadly, isn't it? Yep. Hey, all my wing tee buddies, they always know that I'm gonna give them a hard time until they start running crisscross and you just doing it. When we decided that we were just doing it, honestly, it blows me away sometimes. It's like there are counter plays, then there's good counter plays, and then there's a double handoff.
Double handoff's nasty. And we started doing kind of some insert stuff with that, because you to the level we're playing at, man, those dang backside 5 techniques will squeeze the snot out of it. So we started just basing that guy out and double inserting our wrappers. That made it nasty. That's something you might want to play with.
My goodness. Oh, okay. Now, Coach Pete, we're already over our 2 minutes, but I got another question that came in, so we're going to ask it. Nathan Peters says, you've mentioned RPOs. Do you have a keep option off the backside? If yes, how do you teach quarterback to read it?
On like buck, I'm assuming, or strong side plays. We off every one, we have either a now screen, a quick passing game concept, or a run read where he's going to read one of basically your problem 3 defenders. So we can read the 5 technique with a call. We can read the 4I/3, kind of that B gap, D lineman with a call. And we can read the backside inside linebacker with a call. And so we run that with any strong side run. And that would include zone, belly, buck, same RPOs. You know, you can just attach them to the runs. And so, for example, if we want to read the backside 4, we might call steal, like buck steal. And we know we're reading that guy, and we'll tag whatever route's going on out here. So he can throw it or he can read it. And so you kind of have a 3-way go there, depending on your quarterback. Then we have some RPOs that are attached to the route, like they're together, like they're married, like we'll run like a peak or a spot route. A lot of NFL teams you're seeing do this now off outside zone, and they'll stick it in behind the linebacker. So we got the attached ones, and then we have the divorced ones, which it could be a whole, I gave a session, so it could be a whole session if they want to kind of get into it. I think in your buck one that we did, I walked through it pretty in depth.
Yeah. Now, Coach, who on your staff is allowed to put the reins on you? You ever catch yourself going, okay, I'm gonna have to stop drawing?
Yeah. No, at my old school, I had a guy named Jason Weaver who was pretty good at kind of telling me, all right, we got a little bit too much, in my new school. I've kind of given that to my offensive line guy. He's a younger guy, but he's pretty sharp and he understands, what we believe in. And so, we are big on trying to be simple. However, when you're tagging RPOs, it's really just what the quarterback can handle, because you're not really changing any of your run or pass schemes. So really all you're doing is you're giving as much to that quarterback as possible. So some years we'll have a lot, some years maybe not as many.
Man, well, Coach, I'm gonna wrap things up. I'm gonna come back to you for some closing thoughts. We basically have just started the conversation and already gone over our time limit. Coach Gardner's talking about cooking again in the chat. He's like ultimate cooker. I don't know if you follow Coach Gardner on Twitter. Go follow him.
I think so.
Cody Gardner. He's always cooking. He says, "I'm cooking a
Yes.
Dutch baby." I have no idea what that is, but I'm sure we're going to see a picture of it on Twitter soon. So everybody check Twitter for what the heck a Dutch baby is. Last but not least, real fast, do you ever go under center?
Not at the current school I'm at. We have at the school I was at before.
But like 4th and inches, sneak? No. What about games in hand, victory formation, take a knee? What about spiking the ball?
No, we did go under center to take a knee this year, and then we have gone under center at my previous school on a few things. But if you guys want to watch it under center, just watch my heavy package. There's no need to go under center with what we're doing.
Okay. I like that. And then for spiking the ball, not for spiking it either?
No, because you can spike out of the gun now. So
did they change that rule?
Arkansas now you can
in Arkansas
in the gun.
Oh wow, okay.
I would think Illinois too. I think it came into effect 2 years ago.
Oh wow, man. Okay.
Now if you drop the snap and spike it, you're gonna pull an Auburn and you're gonna get yourself in trouble there. But playing, you can kill it.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. Well, fellas, Tom Simpson says he goes heavy package instead of under center. Yep. So he knows. He knows. Guys in the chat, I'm going to shout out my sponsor one last time. If you haven't given us a thumbs up yet, please do so. If you haven't checked in and let us know where you watched from tonight, please do so. And subscribe if you're not subscribed. Our sponsors, Guardian Caps, Dabo, Jimbo, Franklin, Riley, Herman. What do these coaches have in common? They all use Guardian Caps during practice. These caps reduce up to 33% of the impact to address the repetitive subconcussive blows that add up during the week while keeping your helmets looking like new. Check them out at guardiansports.com or on Twitter at guardian_caps. Guys in the chat, thank you for being here tonight. Coach Simpson, thank you for joining us, and thanks for all the content you've given to Chief Pigskin over some time, man. Any closing thoughts as we say goodbye and Merry Christmas?
Oh man, I appreciate it. And guys that might be watching, if you're new here, Nate does some really good stuff, and he puts a lot of time and a lot of effort into putting out material. So if you have not already, you need to become part of his, I don't know if he calls it his family unit or whatever it is, be a subscriber to Chief Pigskin. They have a lot of really good stuff.
Hey, we've kicked butt on it. It's awesome. And we're moving a ton of it to YouTube, Coach. So, hey, really appreciate you guys. That's all I got, man. I'm excited for Christmas. I'm excited to talk to your Southside guys tomorrow. And I'm excited. We got plenty of football coming up. Coach, have a good night. And I hope to keep in touch and see